Hey everyone, welcome back to Low Logistics, your logistics and supply chain explainer. So first, I want to thank everyone for watching and liking and subscribing and doing all this stuff. The channel has seen just absolutely tremendous growth over the past few weeks. And so first, I want to just thank you for all of that support. I do want to make a note, I've said it a couple times before, I will be doing a panel. I guess I was invited to an expert panel. I guess I'm an expert now on logistics because I make videos. Want to invite you all to that. I'll send some more details out on all my socials, and I'll start putting links in the descriptions of these videos for how to join. It should all be virtual. It'll be at the end of October. So today we're going to be talking about innovation, which we've been talking about all week. But really now we're going to start digging into innovating in your supply chain, because what's innovative industry-wide may not be what you need, and you may need to innovate within what you already have. And so last time we talked about innovating within your systems, your IT stack, and trying to leverage it in different ways, and maybe see how you could squeeze out a couple more years of use, or maybe add some icing on the top of an investment by utilizing it in different ways. But today I want to talk about the actual physical movement of your supply chain, because there's a lot of things that you can do within the existing constructs that might make you a lot faster, a lot smoother, and might drop your cost. All right, so a quick story for my background. Again, you know this by now. I worked at an e-commerce retailer. We manufactured in China actually, and I went over like 7 or 8 times to Hong Kong and to the Guangzhou, China area. And typically what would happen is that I would, get kind of tired and bored and want to go back to China, and I would obviously want the company to pay for it. And so I knew that to do that, I had to, come up with a project that was worth me going over to China to do. So one time it was changing out our parcel carrier, but one of the most fun times was really just kind of put together on a whim. So I happened to be walking around the distribution center because I was housed out of there, and I would go and talk frequently with the receiving team, and I'd sort of ask them, hey, how's it going? What's the product looking like? How are the deliveries coming in? Because that was a function that I controlled, and I wanted to make sure that the receiving was good for them and that they were getting the communication that they needed from my carriers. And they said everything's fine there. And then I started looking at the dock and just seeing like, man, y'all are swamped. There is so much product here. So I was asking the receiving lead, like, hey, what's going on here? He was like, oh, it's that time of the year where we get our new seasonal volume. We get a bunch of bulk up for the holiday period of our kind of existing product. And then on top of that, we have a couple of different promotions that we're also doing on top of that. And so because of those 3 things getting stacked at the same time, the receiving dock got slammed with volume. And it would take them several weeks, and they'd have to add temps, and they'd have to do overtime. And it would take them a while to kind of work their way through that volume and get it into the right places, either in the wholesale channel, retail channel, over to e-commerce. And so I knew, like, okay, it's taking them some time to do all this. Where is the actual bulk of these like physical objects? Where are they going to eventually be assigned to? So I started going, this is a blockage. I need to maybe see if I can fix it, or at least understand what's going on here. And so did a little bit of digging and found out like, oh, a lot of this product is eventually gonna flow right through the warehouse and go out to the retail stores and kind of be held by them in preparation for these larger sales periods, either new season, holiday season, what have you. So I went, well, our allocators are probably I know how they work. I know that they have some logic to the way that they're doing things and how they're ordering, so maybe I should go and talk to them. So I went and asked them, like, hey, what is this thing that you're doing, and how are you buying for these retail stores? And so they said, hey, here's our metric, here's how we buy for stores, and here's how it all sort of goes down. And I went, okay, so you kind of asked this question, you have an idea when you place the order, months in advance, you kind of know what's going to go to each store. And they go, oh yeah, of course. So I went, oh, okay. Now I'm starting to like put connections together and go, oh, this is a thing that I could fix, potentially, and could get me to China. So I had a conversation with my boss and said, hey, look, I know that you're having this problem. I know there's this bottleneck on the receiving dock. I may have a way to fix it. And so she and I we talked, and one of the complications of what we were doing is that a lot of that product was coming from different factories, and there was not a way to make all of those kind of flow in the right way. And for a lot of kind of customs reasons, legal reasons, it just became difficult to do that thing. But in the world of fast fashion, there's a way around that. And so started kind of, she and I chatted, we brainstormed for a bit, and we went, okay, if we are able to, once a shipment has cleared customs in China, and before it gets on the plane to come to us in the US, if we can take all of the product from the different factories and we can put it into one box for each store, maybe 100 boxes, and then we put all of those boxes on a pallet, and we put that pallet in the air and it comes to us, then all that we at the receiving dock have to do is go, maybe do a check on a few boxes, make sure that the right items are in the right box, just to make sure everything's good, quick QC, and then all we have to do is slap a domestic shipping label on it and just translate it across the dock, and then out it will go. We don't need to receive it, into our warehouse, into all of the storage here. We don't need to do all that stuff. It can just come in and go right back out again, and we can actually ship that much later, and it'll just make this whole process much easier and much better. Now, we did that, and I got to go to China again, which was great for me. And we started looking and trying to find where are these places that happen, where is there an FTZ or a free trade zone in the area that we can utilize this warehouse space to do this physical, take a box, put it in and shift around orders. So we found one, and we were actually able to use our buying agent to do that. And it worked like gangbusters. It was amazing. Everything was so smooth. It came in very quickly. And we were able to, save a bunch of money on temp labor and overtime and all that stuff. We were also able to just speed up the whole operation. And we were able to do a lot more launches and have newness of product, which was important in a fashion world. We have newness of product much quicker by not having to do all this extra effort in the distribution in the warehouse. Now, I like telling that story for a lot of reasons, one of which is that it highlights how to look for bottlenecks in your system. And if you're not, as a supply chain professional, if you're not walking around the different parts of your supply chain and looking for places where there are problems, you're not doing a good job. And you need to be talking to people, and you need to be understanding where their pain points are. You need to be involved with them, and that's part of what we talked about last week on relationships, is that you need to build those relationships and have people tell you what's going on. Because, right, I was a transportation manager. It was not necessarily my job to fix that part of the supply chain. It wasn't my job to fix that. But I knew how all of those systems worked because I built relationships, and I was able to make the changes necessary just by having the knowledge that there was a problem. So obviously, when you're looking for bottlenecks, if you've read The Goal, which is a fantastic book, you should definitely read it. You start by looking and seeing where are these problems, where are the bottlenecks, and then you ask, okay, what is causing those problems? For us, it was because during specific points in time, we were having a lot of volume come in for valid business reasons, and it was simply a timing issue of having things stack up at the same time. And we did not have the receiving capacity to actually keep that from being a bottleneck. So once you kind of identified what are the bottlenecks, what's causing them, then you start asking the question of what might a solution look like? So in the case of not having enough throughput in that specific part of the warehouse, we started looking and going, well, the solution would be to add more throughput, either by temps and spending more money on overtime, which is not necessarily a good solution, or by moving that process somewhere else. And so that became the solution of, well, if we want to move that process, how would we do it? Where could we do it? How does that look like? And so we were starting to form this idea of a solution, and then we found a way to implement. And so it was a very simple thing. It was just moving packaging to a different part of the process, pushing it upstream, and it made the whole thing much, much faster, and it kind of cleared that blockage out. Now, one thing that I want to caution you is that innovation in your supply chain will look different than it will in someone else's supply chain, because you are unique. We've talked about this before. You're unique, but you work within the constraints of what you have and what the system looks like. And so innovation for you might be just doing something slightly different, might be, changing the way that you tape a box. That is an innovation. Believe me, It is. If you've worked in China, you know how much tape they love to use. Um, but innovation doesn't have to look like some huge, buzzword omni-channel. It doesn't have to look like zone skipping. It doesn't have to be, all of this crazy stuff. It could just be like, oh, hey, I'm going to do this thing slightly different. And that is innovative. That makes measurable changes in your supply chain, and it will lead to smoother fulfillment. It will lead to lower costs. It will lead to lots of benefits down the line. And so, don't get wrapped on the axle on trying to add a bunch of systems and do all these things because you want to be bigger and better. Innovation starts small. It gets to big stuff, but you have to kind of walk around and go like, where are their problems? How can I fix them? What would those look like? All right, so all that being said, I hope that this kind of gives you a good takeaway, kind of gives you an example of, maybe how to start innovating within your supply chain, maybe how to, look at things differently, and the steps that you might want to take to actually get to that place of improvement and life fulfillment. So thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I hope it was beneficial. Please like, subscribe, comment on the video, sign up for notifications if you want. It's the little bell. Other than that, be looking for the announcement for the panel that I'll be on. And so thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.